And we're also live on Facebook.
Cool. So everybody can see us and hear us now?
Mm-hmm. And for those of you who are raising your hands in the attendees list, if you want to send over a question using the chat box, that would be awesome. That way we can get to your questions or anything that comes up.
All right, 1 second. All right, we good to go? Everybody can hear us? We can hear, cool. All right, y'all. So I think we've given people enough time to get in. So we'll get into it. Just as an introduction, my name is Tariq Lodhan. I'm a poet and a member of the GK Ghassan Kanafani Scholarship Committee and Anthology Committee. So with that said, we have an event we are excited to bring to you today, not only as a celebration of the 4th anthology, but also as a kickoff for the future. But with that said, we wanted to also offer some context before we get started. And so I wanted to open things up a little bit and then pass it on to our committee lead, Diala. So before we get started, I wanted to take a moment to just say that as we open the event tonight, we know that dozens of actions are taking place across cities in cities across the so-called United States in wake of the murder of George Floyd. We affirm our solidarity with our Black siblings in demanding a rebellion, justice, and renewal of the world we live in. In a statement published by the PYM earlier this week, we highlight that Minnesota is one of 14 states that has adopted its own law enforcement bill of rights, which protects these officers from accountability and prosecution and indictment. These laws show us that there cannot be true justice for George Floyd and thousands like him as long as the law serves the interests of the state and not the people the state kills. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm seeing notes that, can you see us? Can everybody see us?
Everyone can see us fine, no worries.
I'm getting notes, sorry y'all, I'm getting notes that people weren't able to see the video. George Floyd and thousands like him, as long as the law serves the interests of the state and not the people, the state kills Black people in the United States and Palestinians in Palestine with impunity, and its agents of violence are never held accountable. It is, if we are to achieve true justice, we must struggle for the abolition of all racist policing and carceral systems globally. As Palestinians, as Arabs, we must continue to co-struggle with our Black siblings in the face of white supremacy and Zionism. Joint struggle with other oppressed people is not a tactic, but a means of survival within a white supremacist system built on the subjugation of our communities. We send our deepest condolences to George's friends and family. Rest in power, George Floyd. Tonight, as we uplift the Palestinian martyr and literary giant Ghassan Kanafani, we reflect on the wisdom of his words that we carry the responsibility to birth a different reality. Ghassan lived and organized in a time where the Palestinian national movement, Black Power movement, and Native liberation movements, in conjunction with third world liberation movements internationally, were all working together to achieve this vision. This is the importance of cultural production, the telling of stories, the portrayal of the times we are living in, to deliver the messages that will empower us to resist oppression and to live courageously to write our own futures. So with that said, I wanted to pass it along to Diala, who can speak more about the Ghassan Kanafani Scholarship as well as Ghassan himself, and then we'll get into the event. So thank you all for being here with us, and yeah, just hang back.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Diala Shhade, and as Tariq mentioned, I'm the current chair of the Ghassan Kanafani Resistance Arts Scholarship Committee, and I'm just going to be sharing a little bit about this project and Ghassan himself. So the Ghassan Kanafani Resistance Arts Scholarship is a grassroots initiative that was launched about 5 years ago with a vision of not only supporting the academic endeavors of Palestinian youth, but also continuing Ghassan Kanafani's legacy and providing those in diaspora a space to explore their identities as Palestinians separated from their ancestral homelands. To uplift the stories of a new generation, 72 years post-Nakba, and be a living part of the Palestinian collective memory of the past, present, and future. Ghassan Kanafani is a Palestinian novelist and iconic national hero. He was born in Akka and was exiled at the age of 10. He channeled his experiences through the literary arts, both as a teacher, helping youth contextualize their situation as Palestinian refugees, and in his own writings, telling the story of Palestine and Palestinians, creating a human connection to our experiences of struggle, exile, love, and loss. Despite his passing decades ago, his writing is still very relevant to our current condition. He was one of the spearheads behind the shift towards revolutionary Palestinian struggle, and his work coined the term resistance literature. He captured the popular imagination, not just of Palestinians and Arabs, but of the world, a feat that would ultimately lead to his untimely death. The Israeli government felt so threatened by the power of his words that they assassinated him and his niece Lamis on July 8, 1972, in his home of exile in Beirut, Lebanon. He was only 34 years old. His memory and the legacy of his writings, however, live in the hearts and minds of many around the world. We hope that the Ghassan Kanafani Resistance Arts Scholarship will honor Kanafani's legacy by continuing to speak freely and truthfully about our history, our present, and our future struggle. As written in the introduction of our 4th annual anthology, authored by Chandi Desai, Philip Metres, and Fargo Tabagi, for Kanafani, the homeland is born again in the awareness of belonging and exile, creating a path to a future of flesh and book. These young Palestinian writers of this anthology, in a sense, are all Kanafani's children. On the fulcrum of the dire present, they carry on his legacy of fierce remembrance and revolutionary persistence into the future. Through this project, we ask, what is the future but the dream of the past? We are indeed remembering the future. We'd like to acknowledge all those that contributed to the 4th annual anthology, our cover artist, Leila Abdelrazaq, our judging panel, Fargo Tabagi, Chandi Desai, Omer Zaza, Philip Metres, George Abraham, and Robin Kelly, the entire GK committee, and most importantly, all of the anthology contributors who shared their stories with us. And with that, I'm gonna give it back to Thought to start introducing our panelists.
Hey everybody. So before we get started, I want to take a moment just to help us center a little bit. And so wherever you are, you know, I know we're on a webinar, so we can't really be in the same space as each other, but I wanted to take a moment to just kind of let you all think about breathing, think about the space you're in. And most importantly, I wanted to recognize that I'm joining the event from the Great Lakes region. I'm specifically in Michigan, but this is the Anishinaabe territory. And as we listen to these artists, each of them a member of the diaspora, deeply impacted by the occupation and the colonization of Palestinian lands, let us be mindful of where we stand, but also take this time to renew our commitments to not just acknowledging these lands, but also tangibly fighting for the marginalized peoples who inhabit them. So one way we strive to fuel this fight is through the power of art. Documenting and building from our people's creations to imagine a new and better world for all of us. And so I know it has become kind of a tradition for a lot of people to do land acknowledgements, but I wanted us to take a step further to kind of think about the commitments we've made to the lands, to the people who inhabit them, and how we can do better to actually be accomplices and not just allies. So with that said, I am really grateful to introduce, and I'm going to do this where I say on deck, so the person who's reading next will be ready. So on deck we have Aya. But right now I want to introduce Lina Abu-Jarada, who is a Palestinian Jordanian artist who has spent the last 10 years utilizing art mediums in order to tell the story of Palestine in the Middle East, including creating unique videos that combine poetry and visual art, controversial comics, and large murals. She is the winner of many international awards, including the 2019 Ghassan Kanafani Resistance Arts Scholarship and the Plural Plus Film Festival International Jury Award. She's exhibited her artwork and spoke about the importance of resistance through art in over 10 countries, with her most recent speech being in the United Nations about her women empowerment art video, We Are Enough. Lina is also founder of the social initiative Arc Smile, which aims to empower marginalized youth through art. So with that said, we will be putting on the video. Lina, I'm sorry for forgetting. Which video do you want me to play first while you read?
I think Colors of Intifada first, but if you'd like, I can try to share it from my screen.
I have Colors ready to go. So let me share my screen, everybody. Sorry, technology is a thing, but also it has brought us together in this moment. So hopefully we can be cool with that.
Once it was white, the color of the dove of peace that now evades our reach. Then came the black, the night, the oppression suffocating human rights and giving birth to the glint of a knife. Knives that are our tongues when the world is deaf to our alphabet. This is the intifada of the knife. And each intifada is the air we breathe, the way we're free, the way we see. It is life and death in response to strife. We carry wounds the color of rust, the blood of our ancestors left to oxygenate in dust, always to remind us that living isn't living, not through the lungs of our homeland. The intifada is us not forgetting. It is us remembering the yellow summer sun that supervised the Lidya death march, when babies nursed from dead mothers and elderly bodies fell one after the other. Throats parched, praying for water, for dignity, for the intimacy of belonging to a home. Still parched, they walked, and we still walk this death march. It is us remembering the blood stacked up in piles from the British executions, the Haganah prosecutions, the Nakse, the Nakbe, the massacres of Jenin, Sabra, Shatila, and Al-Khalil. How bruised is Gaza, and how wary is Al-Quds. Can you not see the blood? On their guns, on their tanks, on their hands through their ranks. It turns gasoline for the fires of our rage. Teeth of fury erupting when our hearts can fit no more pain. We are made of limestone that cries and burns, but does not break. It is us remembering the sea that carried our boats and dead bodies from the port of Jaffa. We are still drifting in the sea, always drifting, always waiting to wash upon the shore of Palestine. Wave after wave of sadness breaks upon the cliffs of our sanity. We are not free, and what is life without freedom? We are robbed of even our history. Bleak clouds occupy our beaches, and we wait, we wait, we wait for a blue sky and the gratification of a dream. The Intifada is a face for the faceless. Children who desperately try to fit smiles in the space between bullets. Children born with 67 years of wisdom and targets puncturing their foreheads. Children whose faces fade to the unknown. Too many to hold. Childhood contained by checkpoints and barbed wire. Friendship with rocks and the bullying of gunfire. Young Palestinians who are suspended in a scream of rage from throats of hearts that are forced to beat within a cage. Young Palestinians who sell their entire future in return for one moment of justice, one moment of dignity, holding our head high and standing tall in victory. And the faces, patience, of hope, of the quiet calm of a cup of mint tea, of prayers at dawn, of a quiet truth that numbs the pain, eyes irrigated with tears producing gentle rain, the sadness that hold us all in one embrace. These are the colors of the Intifada, and we hold the brushes. We hold the brushes, the knowledge, the stones, the rhymes, the knives, the microphones, to paint our way back home. Okay, so that was my first piece, Colors of the Intifada, and it was actually the first piece where I merged poetry and abstract art, so it's a really important piece for me, which is why I wanted to share it. Next, I'm going to be sharing Hamdallah's Dream, which is the piece that I actually won the 2019 Resistance Arts Scholarship with. So, Tariq, if you can share the video. Time stops for no one, not even a child flung between if you mind just restarting the video, sorry. Okay. Sorry, just the video is in sync. I'm really sorry. Can you just restart it one last time? عشر سنوات، هذا كان عمري عندما تركتك. كنت ذلك الطفل بلا حذاء. على بابك ودعت عمري، فلن أكبر حتى أعود. سأظل في عشر أعيش رافضا ويداي خلفي. وأنتم؟ Do you wait for a solution? Does your hand extend for deceitful promises or helpless UN resolutions? Because he searches for the solution. في داخلي، ورفضت أي قضية إلا قضيتي. But they wait for the olive branches to map their way home. Barefoot, he chooses to walk on thorns. فأنا شوكة في حلقهم تذكرهم أنهم يوما تركوا أختهم خلفهم وما زالوا يلومونني لحبي لك. And from his love came art and life. The art of resistance whispers the sound of worshippers' feet on the cobblestones of Jerusalem. It splashes me with the foam of Haifa's wraith through Kanafani's punctuation, and the fragrance of orange blossoms in the spaces between Darwish's words. بين تلك الأسطر تعلمت الكثير، وفي ثناياها كانت طفولتي العابي والأراجيح. تعلمت أما حمائم الحي وتعلمت معها الطيران وأكثر. علمتني كيف يكون الموت عرساً، وكيف ترسم الحياة في ذات العرس. كيف يكون الفرشاة صبراً، ويلبس الصبر ثوبه الأحمر. علمتني أن نجوم السماء هي أرواحهم، وأن السماء ستبقى منارة في الليل. The dove of peace sailed away into a late autumn, waiting for the day that the spring of our conscience will bloom. Do you hear the echo of its song? The wings that beat in your chest. We were all born in a sunrise, cradling a holy land. Do you see the sunrise on the horizon, beyond a blue sky, trapped in our dream? And in that dream, تذكر درويش كل كلمة قالها فيك، فابتسم مرحبا. سيدتي أستحق لأنك سيدتي أستحق الحياة. وعاد الحب لينبض في أقلام كنفاني، وظهر من بعيد هناك ناجي العلي. جلس الجميع يشهدون اللقاء، وترنمت العصافير بعبق الوطن. We were all born in a sunrise cradling a holy land, and we should die in that sunrise. Okay, so thank you so much for giving me this platform to share my art. And I just wanted to say that the Ghassan Kanafani Resistance Art Scholarship is so important because it's not always for artists who do resistance arts. It's not always easy to find that support. So I just want to say that I'm so privileged and honored to be a part of this. And I hope that I can support it in future ways. And I'm going to be on the judging panel. And I'm really hoping that we can build a generation that is able to resist through art. Thank you.
So that was beautiful. And y'all, I know that we're not with each other like in the moment, but feel free to like clap and snap and do whatever you need to do in your homes, because like, who knows, your ammo might come down from like upstairs and join you. So definitely feel free to engage in the work, because just because this is online doesn't mean you can't do whatever you want to do at home. So with that said, on deck we have Noura, but right now we have Aya Al-Fahmawi, who is a Palestinian poet originally from Tulkaram, Kufr al-Bad and Kufr al-Labad. She was the 2018 second place recipient of the Ghassan Kanafani Resistance Art Scholarship, and her work appears in the anthology titled We Feel a Country in Our Bones. Her work explores diasporic identity and the importance of storytelling and resistance. Y'all please clap or whatever, wave, send likes for Aya.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me. First, I want to echo what Tariq said originally and what PYM has said about the current moment, the protests for Black lives. I want to give a shout out to the communities throughout the US for their power in fighting back in demonstration, showing that a world with policing and a world with prisons are incompatible with a world with justice. I want to call on my fellow Palestinians to reach out to their local bail funds and Black Lives Matter to offer support in whatever way you can. This first poem that I have, I actually wrote after I came back from Palestine for the first time. It was really transformative experience, but I wrote it 3 years ago. I'm very much not the same person. But this appeared in the 2018 anthology. So it's called 1941. I am still sticky with the smell of her mother's village. I balance on the threshold of her sister's home, and Mama notices I drag my feet extra now. She clicks her throat in disapproval at the pockmarks in my skin. History is a scab I haven't stopped picking at. And she calls me a soft Western daughter, meaning my scars darken in the sun. Caught the mulberry season. I paid too much. A fee for the soft cloth and thin accent. Still, cheaper than the not having she is used to. She admits she is surprised that anything grows there anymore, but doesn't say why. Occupation is too thick for this apartment, so we dance around the letters for what has happened to our family, why we've only ever lived in places we are not from, filled ghost towns with everyone that refused to die, I a part of their new birth, but memories are gossamer thin when they aren't your own. An inherited wanting still pulses against the tongue. Desire sounds different to every generation, turns a chursi into kursi and a qahwa into ahwa. These sounds can make a person sick of their own voice and fling them over an ocean to another language altogether. Unpacking marks the end of this great pilgrimage. The first thing I pull from luggage is black fabric, cross-stitched and women's work to keep you warm. Teta's origami fingertips trace the handiwork. Did you walk that street? The one with the split olive tree down the second hill to the right of my father's house? I lie. Yes, Teta. There is an ice cream shop there now. Nothing of the new chemical factory and the heavy lung air. No mention of ID cards or checkpoints or how desperation can turn to cancer in a year. Instead, I tell her I don't ever want to wash the jasmine from my hair. I think this makes her smile. 3 children in my lap weigh me down enough to feel like I can belong here just for this night. I carve a peach for them and let them tug on my curls. I tell them that Palestine was dry this year. It didn't rain, not even once, making me believe it impossible that the sky could empty its sorrows onto a people, or that the skies could have sorrows for a people. But there is wet curiosity in my cousins' mouths, too young to call any place a desert. Flipping through the pictures, they repeat the names of cities and villages after me. Ramallah, Haifa, Kufr al-Labad, that's where Teta was born. Janine, Tudkarim, Yatta, I empty a promise next time I will take you with me. Susia, Aida, and Nasra, we don't talk about their passports. In this moment, we feel a country in our bones, and we let Palestine fill the room. Thanks. So this second poem is actually, I wrote it during a workshop that I hosted for Yellow Punk, and it is inspired by Fargo. Shout out Fargo. And I think that this is exactly why this scholarship and this anthology is so important. It's because it really exposed me to other Palestinians as well, and how incredible their work is. So shout out Fargo. This deals the first part of his first place poem. Okay. In the year 2148, the tallest building in the world is in Palestine, and it is an accident. Generations fill our houses to the brim, so we build one floor atop the other. For the first time, all our family lives together. Of course, we live forever when no one is trying to kill us. So in the year 2148, Palestine touches the moon and the stars in the sky. It is nothing short of magic. We rest in the great gravity of 2 moving bodies, and we love between them both. Here I am, no body other than a body of light. I conceive of a thought and birth another history. A nation so free it bursts out its seams, fills the vastness of our universe with the awiya of my grandmother. She turns each crater into an olive grove, coaxing water from the impossible. It is beyond a desert and still. From the folds of her hands it blooms. Here we are so beautiful, the meteor martyrs itself so we don't have to. Our sons grow into men on their own time and only if they choose. Their home is everywhere and they ravage no one in search of it. Here I am no woman, no scar of the earth. Here I am untethered, free to watch the pull of the ocean from above, free to imagine that I am the cause of it. Here I glow by being. I am stardusted with my people, and we are all the constellations they cite as the proof of God. And oh, bless the magic of it all. Thank you so much, and thank you for the platform.
Hey everybody, please give it up for Aya one more time. Clap it up, send your favorite lines in the chat, whether you are on Facebook in the Facebook chat or in Zoom in the Zoom chat. We've got 2 parties going on essentially. So we can say that we have more than 1 launch party going on. So with that said, on deck we have Kaneem, and just wanted to say y'all, we are navigating so many things right now. I think Aya had texted me like many times. She texted me, I think, like a bunch of times, like, I'm coming from a protest. There's a bunch of stuff happening. I'm not sure if I'll make it back in time. Just a heads up. And like Kaleem is also like on a train and people are all over the place. So I wanted us to just take a moment, just think about like the world is happening around us. Things are still happening. And so anything you can do, whether it's supporting from the comforts, perceived comforts of your home to being out in the streets, please find ways to do so. And just please give it up one more time for all of our artists who are like coming from across the world and doing so despite the continuingly uncertain time. Everybody keeps saying uncertain times, I'm sorry. But Noda Farouk is a Palestinian Lebanese writer and educator from New York who hails from Haqqa and Haifa. Her family was exiled from Palestine in 1948 and since has been living in Lebanon, where she also has roots. Her degree focuses on the intersection of identity, poetry, psychology, and indigenous knowledge and oral history. Her creative work serves as an attempt to display history as is, creating a collective and personal representation of current, I'm sorry, I lost it. Her creative work serves as an attempt to display history as is, creating a collective and personal representation of current and past times, using lived experience, image collaging, interviews, songs, newspaper headlines, and recordings, serving as both a starting point of education and a healing practice. She hopes to be able to create a literary home and lasting legacy for both the present and the past, as well as a space to conceptualize a personal and collective future within the struggle towards freedom. Through organizing efforts, education, and participating in people's rewriting of history. Writing is spelled R-I-G-H-T, so dual meaning there. She hopes to show the historical patterns of oppression and alternatively liberation, to conceptualize new possibilities while preserving knowledge and traditions, to connect the diaspora back to Arab youth throughout the Levant, and to highlight the narrative around the Palestinians who remain in Lebanon since 1948. Please, y'all, clap it up for Noda.
Hi, before I start, I just wanted to ask Tarek if you could show my image sheets or if I should be doing that from my computer.
Feel free to do so.
Okay. You can all see? Okay. So when I wrote this piece, something that I was thinking about was the fact that, I'm sorry, I just want to get this correct, was the fact that we have a lot of history as Palestinians in writing, in documentation actually of our history. And a lot of the time, we're told that we don't exist, and we're told that our identity isn't documented and our experiences aren't documented. And I find that to be false. And so part of my intention in writing this is to connect past liberation struggles and our continued liberation struggles with our current struggle, and to make us stronger and solidified to the past, and therefore be stronger as we look towards the future. So before I start, I also just want to say all liberation is connected, and I think we're at a very pivotal moment, and I think that writing and having these kind of conversations is very important. So thank you all for being here. Okay. This poem is called El Auda, which means the return. So haunting is one way in which abusive systems of power make themselves known and their impacts felt in everyday life, especially when they are supposedly over and done with, or when their oppressive nature is denied. I use the term haunting to describe those singular yet repetitive instances when home becomes unfamiliar, when your bearings on the world lose direction, when the over and done with becomes alive, when what's in your blind spot comes into view. Dedication by Ghassan Kanafani, and to him. To those who are martyred for the land of the sad oranges, and to those who have not been martyred yet. El Auda. I am here, there. I am. My family embedded in binds, history's amnesia. I hear whispers, my ancestors here, there. I wake in midnight haze, skin drenched in home. They speak to me every day, night in utero, feeding from memory's mad method of destroyer, of destroyed. I remember the return. I remember sweet fruit from deep roots. I stand today, I stare, here, the face of the decision once decided to flee. I remember they left armies and soldiers crawling over bodies, over backbones, side glances at checkpoints. Remember the fear. Home. Rich cardamom coffee grinds read me swift and smoother than the fear. I taste forgotten flavor, languages colliding over coffee, laughing through flavored smoke. Here, there, this soil, in sea salt, wrapping the waves of my hair, the waves of my history. But this house, this town is full of mothers, daughter's daughter, starting anew, lips touching on the eve of open eyelashes, soaking in moonlight's harvest. Glimmering slick and icy down our veins, the riots, our heads, the trick, switch split light shadows in a dwindling night, splitting orange peeling around table, pistachio shell in plate, your fasting break, water and date, drums beating in step, beating in ruthless street of life's longing for itself. It continues and contains. Show me revolution, hang heavy on the clothespins of imagination's rest against trauma's roaring, everlasting ring. All roots are grounded in dreams, burnt with sadness, or cursed by an infinite capacity for love. In the familiarity of lost conversations, a bud dipped in connection, the bloom of struggle continues. You can't find sun in a locked room. A year later, they said the room is too big for you, and you made a partition with blankets and jute. Contemplate the silent indifference that you've lost your youth and your country. When you understand the fleeting nature of existence, at any moment denial could collapse, sunstroke upon waking. Even my heart split in two, and half remains where it began. I stand on the same street, my mother's house, there is no homes. I go to the same street my father worked in his childhood, ruined by war, occupied by outsiders, his portraits the only remnants of the past. I walk in Lebanon. I see girls with beauty like poetry and boys who dream of life. I feel the warmth, the cold wind from the sea, and I remember all I've learned from life, not from a university or read in a book. I hear stories in ancient trees. I remember why I come back. I remember why my family left. I remember how alone in the world you can feel and how it becomes cold with armies and soldiers through the city. I remember the fear. I remember the love letters written by the young. I remember the love in the faces of my grandmother and grandfather. I remember why I come back. I remember why we live life, and I forget the cold and forget the loneliness, and I remember only the sweets from the earth, and I continue to begin. So I just want to take a second to say that these image sheets, so this original image sheet was done from a video recreation of Men in the Sun written by Ghassan Kanafani. And these image sheets are taken from a documentary about Leila Khaled and some of her childhood images, with also some of my dad and mother and my own childhood images. Some of them are in places that don't exist anymore. And the rest is from a documentary about the Pan-Algerian Music Festival, which was done in 1969 and was a great act of artistic resistance throughout the Northeast, North Africa and the Middle East. So they have used the bodies of children as improvised bridges. They leave their home in fear of their lives. At that time, Haifa was part of Palestine. The rest of the family flees to Lebanon. Exile will soon be a distant memory. Genocide, sickness, infant mortality. The skin of a colonist is not worth more than the skin of those colonized. When can you consciously charge for good? South Africa, genocide. American Indians, genocide. Mozambique, genocide. Nazi massacres, genocide. Vietnam, genocide. Clementine, Madame Tangerine, 1993, Patriot Act acting on me. 1948, Nakba catastrophe. Balfour left us a bastard child, no such thing as mild. Kufar Qasim, Deir Yassin, massacre me, invade our homes, infect us with disease, rape our women like some goddamn creeps. The lamb and the gun both scream, bleep, 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 ba, ba, black sheep. Our men suffering from heart disease, swelling of the hands, knees, broken feet, bones stripped of the courage to lead, sheared, made into a stranger's sheets. The dice player, Darwish arming me, never forget, I'm a vet of a global threat. Get your AK and fuel the gas jet, you bet. I'm owed big like the public debt, and I'm ready to liquidate my assets. Arabic alphabet, family story on auto cassette. Without becoming upset, light my cigarette and fire the string quartet. Threat bigger than the Soviets. Lamb, the sacrificial roast, I boast, prophetic history from the land of rhyme and mystery, thyme and misery, sunshine, dates, and fig trees. We say please and shukran at dawn, listening to the holy Adon. Defeated, we have achieved teaching every single person in this world that a small, brave nation who are going to prove that this nation is going to continue to fight till victory. We achieved that our people could never be defeated. We achieved to put justice for ourselves after the world has failed in giving it to us. This is not a civil war or a conflict of people. It is a liberation movement. Ghassan Kanafani's poetry still beats through Beirut streets to Akkha's water leaks. Remember, we are at war with colonialism. Thank you. I appreciate you all for being here, and I hope we can continue this and the legacy. And I really encourage everyone who's listening to apply and put their art forward, because it's better and we're stronger when we do it together. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Noda. Everybody, please share your favorite lines, whatever you can in the chats, both on Facebook and Zoom. Otherwise, we have Kalim Hawa, who writes about films and books, which is the entire bio. So give it up for Kalim. Super modest.
Hi, guys. I'm sorry I'm not joining you by video. I'm just trying to conserve data because I'm on transit. Thank you, Noura, for that. That was so beautiful. I was going to read 2 poems from the collection. But after I was out at the protests in New York these past 2 days, and ended up writing a 3rd that I thought I would read tonight as well. So I'll start actually with one from the collection, which is called Za'atar. Mutabbal is the writhing bodies of eggplants, just your everyday tahini bathers and lemon juice. In the coffee house just off Central Square, the argila smoke replaces language. And Dallas' specialty is a lahmi ajin shamier, the minced meat served with fresh tomato and pomegranate molasses, the electric purple of the pickled turnip, a ribbon of color slashing brown hide, carving out space for the rivulets of citrus and salt. Leban Iran is yogurt that has given up, just your everyday chilled milk and sweating glass. I guess I always knew there was acidity in the leaves, the bite of sesame, dulled by warm dough, the steam leaving globules of heat on my lips, but it's always surprising to learn about it from someone else, to have it prepared, garnished and plated, consumed out in the open, morsels of bitterness wrapped in pita and slathered with heady streams of zayt zaytun. Hummus is the warm, emulsified memory, just your everyday baked pain and chickpea puree. My therapist told me to eat more because she could see my ribs, see wire in my body, see my protruding chin, wrapping elastic skin. So I'm here stuffing my face, washing it down with mint, keeping my head down, fingers clenched around my plate, eyes avoiding yours, trying not to think about the za'atar stuck in my teeth. So that's the first poem. And I wrote that last year. And I just want to also take a second to thank the organizers of this event and of the entire anthology. It's really wonderful work. I've read it twice now. Yeah, I'm very grateful for this opportunity to read to peers and to Palestinians as well. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I'm going to read the second one now, which is called Haifa 2. And two of my grandparents are actually from Haifa. So I'll start. You ride the tram up together and down, waving at the city until the trees open past the gold Mount Carmel. And you're back at home. All indigo smoke rings and sweating beer, pulsing energy in the sea cold. Heater whirring warmth, couch capturing conspiratorial words, embers of cigarettes and strength evaporating like smoky barbecue chips, and crinkled wrappers, and crinkled eyes, and a hidden life. You're slowly realizing this is it. There's no grand movement, just Khaled and his ideas coming in out of the rain. That the infectious quality of his language was word blood for those starved of a vocabulary of suffering. A historic movement drained of its life by decades of neglect. A way to face the Great Terror. Complacency, not subjugation, not assimilation, not what you used to think, that there was a moral imperative to resist. He's right, you're naive. What good had it done, the rock throwing, the anger, popular fronts without popularity? This good faith in the power of power smashed its nose against gaseous, hard, explosive, and suffocating steel rubber and rain wire fury. This faith in ideas won by force blood had always been the domain of the radical Western mind. With its confidence, you sounded just like your uncles, who never understood that there has always been a will to live and let that life be the resistance, to weather it all, to be a good man, to be brave blood, to pick up the boy who missed the bus, struggled to find his Jiddo's old house, who faced the indifference of change and reeling, staggered into that tram past rows of monolithic Israelite kings, whose impassive faces watched him fleeing his perfectly legal crime. So that's the second poem. And I wrote that actually when I went to visit Haifa last year. And then the last poem I wrote is a recent one. I wrote it basically yesterday and today. And that's, so it's a bit of a work in progress, but I thought I would read that if you guys like, kind of from my experiences over the last 2 days and in solidarity with everyone else who is going to be out tonight and in the future. It's called Black Milk. I pour myself a bowl of cereal and watch Adam Driver punch a hole in the wall. It's jarring to see a sweet man express himself violently, how the brain can handle so much stimulus, but the lymphatic system still deals in binaries. After the snap, we usually watch the images of pain develop into violence. In the kitchen dark room of the Jordanian safe house, we then sit on our sun-drenched balconies, diligently cataloging the cowardice of others. But this time, I'll tell you to douse me in dairy, love me in it, clean my eyeballs, rid me of the horror, mingle with the vitreous body, let my retina float in your screw cap preparation. I'll never forget how his face looked last night. how the pepper spray didn't break him, and how he hugged while crying tears of milk, big black droplets on his sister's hair. Or how the coffee brown boy looks at the black boy, knowing the only difference between them and us is how we take it, a tension between nihilism and dignity. So when the trash cans are finally on the street, our scarves can wink with abandon, speaking to us from around our necks, saying, "Good night, Kaleem, and I'm proud of you, my sweet revolutionary boy." Thank you, guys.
So I did try to share Kaleem's face while he was on a train. So hopefully y'all got to relish in the beauty that is his work. So right now we're gonna take a little bit of a time to give you all more background on the scholarship and the way that your support helped us keep this going by introducing another GK committee member. We abbreviate Ghassan Kanafani with GK, Leila Abdelrazaq.
Hi, everybody. My name is Leila Abdelrazaq. I'm a member of the Palestinian Youth Movement and honored to be on the Ghassan Kanafani Resistance Arts Scholarship. And my role in the committee is to see the print anthology live beyond and engage with the Palestinian and Arab community. So I'm just going to talk very briefly on the background of the Ghassan Kanafani Resistance Arts Scholarship. The Palestinian Youth Movement provides a unique scholarship for Palestinian youth residing in the United States and Canada. It is one of the first of its kind in North America, providing Palestinian youth a platform and encouragement to engage in reflecting on their narratives as Palestinians in exile. The Ghassan Kanafani Arts Scholarship aims to continue the legacy of literature and creative expression that has been inherent to the Palestinian experience. The project aims to support our youth's educational and academic pursuits while identifying the deep linkages between public, private, social, and political life for our community. The Ghassan Kanafani Resistance Arts Scholarship rewards youth for their writing and creativity and open space to celebrate our Palestinian identity. So far, our grassroots effort have modestly funded 12 prizes to young Palestinian students and have published and showcased the work of over 60 youth over the course of 4 years. Through the judging process, hundreds of young Palestinians' work has been viewed by arts and literature mentors like Stephen Salaita, Leila Abdelrazaq, Remy Kanazi, Philip Metris, Chani Desai, and Robin DJ Kelly, and rising activist scholars like Omar Zaza and Dina Omar. Every year, we give the first place winner an opportunity to sit on the judging panel of the following year, allowing them to learn from other scholars and become mentors for their generation. The anthology we are celebrating tonight on the eve of the 2020 call for submissions is titled "Knocking on the Doors of Jerusalem," taken from Laura Tibi's submission, Country Codes. She lives in Toronto. Her piece is mixed media, visual, collage, and poetry, and lists all country codes as published by the Canada Border Services Agency. Of course, Israel is listed, but Palestine is nowhere to be found, leaving her with no official answer to the question, "Where are you from?" A question that every Palestinian in the diaspora has been asked, and to which we all answer Palestine. Because Kanafani and every anthology submission has taught us, Palestine is with us always, in our hearts, memories, and in our continuous fight to reclaim our homeland. We as the Ghassan Kanafani Scholarship Committee want the scholarship to live beyond the print anthology. We believe creating these unique spaces to engage each other and to uplift Palestinian narratives and cultural production, which has been integral to keeping our struggle alive. The scholarship costs between $3,000 to $4,000 to run, and with your support, we can continue to magnify this work and sustain our impact. You can support the scholarship by donating and receiving a copy of the 4th edition of the anthology on our website. We have bundles that include both the print and PDF options. Diala will link all the links in the chat. This is really important because all of the funds you give support the scholarship, go directly back into the scholarship pot, and are awarded to young Palestinian creatives. With a donation of $10, you can receive a copy of the PDF of our 4th annual anthology, or donate $30 and receive a PDF set of all 4 of our previous anthologies. A $25 donation comes with a print copy of our 4th annual anthology. And due to the presence of COVID, we have not been able to host the in-person launch party events that we normally rely on to raise funds for the next year of scholarships. We know that not everyone can give, and your presence here tonight means so much. However, if you are able to support through an anthology donation or are able to sponsor our second or third place prizes at $500 or $250, please send your donations here, which Diala will link in the chat box, or send an email of intent to gkscholarshipPYM@gmail.com. All of these will be listed in the chat box. And thank you all to those who are joining us tonight and making this possible.
Thank you again, Lina. I'm going to give everybody a couple seconds to go and donate in exchange for an anthology. So I'll count to like 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay. So next we have George Abraham, who's a Palestinian. Okay, my bad. On deck, we have, one second. On deck, we have Farah. But right now, please put your hands together for George. George Abraham is a Palestinian-American poet and PhD candidate at Harvard University. They are a Kundiman Fellow, a board member for the Radius of Arab American Writers, Rawi, and they are the author of the debut poetry collection, Birthright by Button Poetry, which is available now. Please go get that, as well as the anthology. Give it up for George, everybody.
Oh no. Hey y'all, what's up? I can't turn on my video. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Amazing. Hey y'all, what's up? Thank you all so much for creating this space, and it's an honor to be here, especially like being on both sides of this. I was one of the inaugural recipients back in 2016, and then now I was on the judging panel for the 2019 scholarship. So I've been like messaging a few of y'all like, oh my gosh, your submissions, I remember them. So it was really great to be here and see you all more tangibly. But yeah, I'm gonna be reading 2 poems from my book, Birthright, which just came out. This first one, I've been thinking a lot about like, it's always like a privilege to be reading for a primarily Palestinian audience. It's not something I get to do like a lot just because of literary establishment, etc. And this first poem is about like, I guess like the weird, I mean, it's pinkwashing is what it is, but how Tel Aviv has been kind of repurposed and appropriated into a like gay destination tourist thing, while Palestinians actively can't go there. And when I went back to Palestine for the first time, kind of thinking about what Aya was saying earlier, it was weird because my grandfather was like, oh wow, you're getting to actually go to Tel Aviv. That's something I haven't been able to do in decades. And then to go there and see what it's become and just be really uncomfortable the whole time was quite an experience. So this is letter to be reflected and thrown into the shores of Tel Aviv. It's for my parents, for my grandparents. I am writing to you from a land where I am already myth, but I suppose you knew that already. You've seen it before, but not through my eyes, with nothing but the wind tethering you here from some other goneness you could imagine. Let me be clear. To other men, this could be the right side of paradise, a foaming line waiting to swallow me back, where I came from is no longer where I came from, but instead a blood's reckoning, instead a hunger I cannot afford, oceanic. Only a queer thing can swallow that much of me and still remain a whole and single body. Desire is desire, and here I am, pooled and thirsting. I promise there is a distance when I call this my capital and they call it theirs, but there is also a distance when I call this mine and you yours. It is a different kind of distance. Here, our men don't have faces. Here, I've taken that bloodstained flag down, yet Palestinian is the only identity I've ever been certain about. I promise. There are men who want me, but cannot stomach the idea of me existing, even if you cannot imagine them. Forgive me. I had such little faith in your imagination, but I'm beginning to think of faith as a fogged mirror into which we look and witness ourselves outside of ourselves. And much like faith, we don't pray through mirrors, we understand through them. I want you to see me in this and every light. I'm not asking you to imagine me dead in a man's arms, but I am asking you to see me as always becoming both I and death of. It's true. At the center of every myth is a loneliness larger than the whole of us, but is it not polyamory if I love myself into a multitude? I'd like to think there is somewhere a you I can return to. I'm trying to say I love you, but I don't have the right mythos for it. I'm trying to say I love him, but he already isn't. I don't want to call this a coming out. That would imply there was ever a border to reckon. War is war and war alone. And I don't want to speculate on the exiles I could inherit at your hands. I want to say I already forgive you for what is to come, that the opening wound of me forgives the ocean its salt, but this too is contingent upon the promise of violence. Forgive me. I cannot fathom the concept of returning again. I once imagined this, a letter to every person and country that once mothered me, but maybe I needed this to be instead a mirror. This is what I know. I fell in love with Summer like he wasn't a bad decision. We kissed with all our teeth. He bit me and the blood surfaced but did not pool. We pulled rivers from each other until we forgot we were human. We slow danced in an empty field as the world ended around us. See? I'm always at the edge of violence. This is how I've constructed mercy. I mean, forgiveness is a sadness I cannot afford. I only know my lovers as seasons that pass through me. Therefore, I am either land or ocean, but never the border between. I too want to be interrupted by daybreak. I too have stained and been stained beneath the same moonlight. I'm not saying I love him. I just want to be worthy of a good fight. I promise. There are prettier ways to lie to ourselves, among ourselves. You ask me what the weather is like in my city every time. This is how we understand the distance between us. But what is an obad but a lie we tell to convince ourselves morning's coming, bloodless. I loved him, phantasm. Forgive me. I loved him, anthemless and splendored. Forgive us. I lied. What I'm looking for is the opposite of forgiveness. Thank you all so much. I'm going to read one short poem and hand it off to the next person. Sorry, that poem always gets me in a emotional headspace. Thank you all for hearing me and for having me and for this chance again to speak among. Ars Poetica with parallel dimensions. I must confess this softness is often an endless well I fall into, the way a snake chases itself into itself. On tamer days, I blame the fruit for their thick ripening and not the small jealousies endangering the honeybee. Some days, I cannot distinguish desire from extinction. Every love of mine demands bloodshed. Of a hunter's lineage, oh exile, my exile, that I could unwrite our lace talons into metal wings, that we could uncauterize the crimson sky and fly into a sunset spilling blood that is not our own, that I could turn two mirrors in on themselves, unraveling those infinite dimensions, infinite copies of self somewhere I pluck an apple, but a parallel self suffers the expulsion. And what is that if not ancestry rippling across space itself, timeless? In this reality, I lose a country for another Eden to blossom beneath another stratosphere. I confess I am more vengeful than my oppressors deem me. I fang so hard it louds my smile, writes my cyanide ducts into gentle rain. In truth, I wish all of my oppressors an eternity of carnage for every country stolen from us, from all of our loved ones, the way infinity plus infinity is just infinity forever fails us like that. Our eternity is the moment between child's fist and soldier's gun. Therefore, our eternity is everything but child's fist and soldier's gun. I know threat is not object, but state of being. I love him, so he's everyone's threat. I bloody my hands for him, so he must be God of somewhere. I know heaven is a poem I can survive the end of. I know holy is waking up with a knotted neck on a red sofa in Philadelphia, crowded with all of my loved ones. I know that too is itself a country even I can have faith in. Thank you all.
Thank you, George. So I wanted to say, y'all, on deck we have Fargo, but coming up with Farah. I've been kind of all over the place. I have like 5 cameras going on and different screens. So I wanted to center myself and just say once more, this art is really important. Please click on the links in the chat to get the PDFs if you can. That way you can support the work of these artists and also help us continue the work for the anthology coming up. Just a quick note, tomorrow actually is the opening of the application period for the 5th anthology. So if y'all are young and within the age range and in North America, please submit your work and be a part of this moving forward. So with that said, I'm happy to introduce Farah Kadir, who is a public health analyst living in Michigan. She has a BA in public health from UC Berkeley and an MPH from the University of Michigan. She received the 2017 Ghassan Kanafani Resistance Art Scholarship and a 2019 Hopwood Graduate Award for Poetry. The Hopwood is like really big, y'all. And her work has been featured in literary journals, including Mizna, Narrative Magazine, and Electric Literature. Please put your hands together for Farah.
Thank you. So I will be reading for you today, not a poem, but a part of an essay that the one that I submitted for the Kanafani Scholarship in 2017. It's too long, so I'm just going to read a couple of paragraphs from different parts of the essay. But first, I'm just going to explain briefly what it's about, so the excerpts don't seem very disjointed otherwise. So. Yeah, overall, the essay is kind of me and my love of the environment. I work in exposure health, and this essay was very personal because it was about me feeling guilty for investing so much time in a career that didn't seem so directly geared towards tackling the injustice occupation. So it's kind of a story, I think, about living in diaspora. These things are written about a lot, but this is just kind of my take. So I'll go to the essay, and the title is A Field Guide to California Smelt and Other Martyrs. As a teenager, I began to feel that collective stretch toward forgotten deserts and to trees just swatting flies and kicking garbage down alleys with my cousins, our only shaded refuge from a merciless sun. My sisters and I had reluctantly learned to relinquish our love of long, cold showers after days. Like most Palestinian localities, Anza's water supply is restricted and poorly treated. My relatives did not spin tales about Jinn and Shahrazad. They spoke of toxic waste being dumped into the water and delivered to Palestinians, wrote hypotheses about childhood cancer rates in Gaza. In its absence, the water drew me in. In America, when flooded with questions about my purpose, I went back to the water. When I moved from the Northeast to attend the University of California, I imagined I'd be immediately swept up by the bay breeze, swirling with diverse people and open minds. It did not feel it did feel like that to some degree. For the first time in my life, I was suddenly meeting Arab Americans in droves, all of whom seemed to think globally and wanted to make a difference in their communities. I began to wonder how many of them would care had not inherited their family's cultural baggage, and I questioned my own reasons for being there too. And suddenly I felt very alone. Even when I thought I was sinking, I knew I belonged there. You would understand if you knew the California skies mirror the Mediterranean climate my mother always mourned during the harsh winters in the Northeast. When she visited me on graduation day, the excitement over my commencement ceremony was overshadowed by Berkeley's blue loquat trees, shading my mom in her own memories of fabulous summer nights. Never before did I recognize the plants and the buildings of a ravaged West Bank as beautiful. But in my adoptive Bay Area, I bathed in soft sun rays, floating down streets that reflected Rafidia's street lamps. So, yeah, that's all I'll read for now. But I really wanted to thank PM for including me in this event. I'm not a performer, often very private, so I really encourage anyone who's at least remotely interested in art and sharing their stories to please do so and support the anthology. So thank you again.
Farah, I think you cut out. Are you still there?
Yeah.
You're good.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Farah. Thank you.
Wait, are you still reading
Should
more?
I introduce the next person?
Oh, I thought Farah was going to read something else and then got cut out. My bad. All right. Hey, everybody. Sorry. I thought there was more.
Oh, no, that was all.
Got you. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Y'all, I just want to take a second to piggyback off what Farah said. We write for ourselves, we share for others. So the act of writing, definitely do it. If you're Palestinian, if you're of any marginalized group, of any group at all, just write, process, because these are the ways we document our histories. And then the act of sharing is how we ensure that everybody around us can participate collectively in that narrative building. Because, I don't think we talk about this enough, but erasure is huge. George kind of talked about it with regards to the ways in which there's pinkwashing happening. So the more we write is actually an act of resistance that allows us to keep our histories going. So I just wanted to piggyback off and remind people of that. So it doesn't have to be in some journal. It doesn't have to be in something to be relevant and important for all of us. So with that said, our last reader for the evening, and also before we do this, I wanted to say to all the artists, if you would like, after this, please bring yourselves back on video and just share a thought or a feeling, maybe one sentence so we can close it out, and then we'll close the event. So I wanted to make sure everybody had another chance to show or express, things they're doing to center themselves in these times, things that they're doing to embody the work of resistance arts, and then we'll close out. So with that said, on deck is everybody, but right now give it up for Fargo Tabahi, who is a queer Palestinian American performance. He is, I think he's supposed to say artist after. He is the winner of the 2018 Ghassan Kanafani Resistance Arts Prize and a Pushcart nominee, and a 2020 Desert Nights Rising Stars Fellow. His writing is published or forthcoming in Strange Horizons, Foglifter, Hobart, The Shallow Ends, Mizna, Peach Mag, and elsewhere. His solo show, My Father, My Martyr, and Me, Postcolonial Instructions for Loving the Palestinian Body, was programmed at Outsider Festival Fest 2020 and at Intersection Solo Fest 2020. Find him on Twitter at Fargo. Thank you all, and give it up for Fargo.
Antigone says, "Who cares for us but us? The scattered dirt, our handful of everything, drone dead, noon, sun, the stink of breath, who cares? Fool's religion praying for an op-ed powerful enough to bring us home. The barracks emptied and filled again with power. There's oral history, and then there's oral history. The residue of every meal a person ever ate, records kept safe in the mouth gone cold while the walls shake. Every 90 seconds we recite rice, cumin, eggplant, lamb. Mythology becomes our antidote to rhetoric. A corpse is a stained glass window into living. I wrap my face in sorrow cloth and ride for death against the police, by Miguel James, translated by Guillermo Parra. My entire oeuvre is against the police. If I write a love poem, it's against the police. And if I sing the nakedness of bodies, I sing against the police. And if I make this earth a metaphor, I make a metaphor against the police. If I speak wildly in my poems, I speak against the police. And if I manage to create a poem, it's against the police. I haven't written a single word, a verse, a stanza that isn't against the police. All my prose is against the police. My entire oeuvre, including this poem, my whole oeuvre is against the police in the year 2148. Waji finds a dead dog by the side of the road. Innards all askew, buzzard food. Stand and stare for 5 minutes, wonder at death's becoming. Reconstitute last moments, how it looked up, how its eyes widened. Is there anything pause can outrun? Here is what the roads of Al-Khalil are like in 2148. Dusty and populous, each hour seeing up to 200 cars pass by, numbers taken from observation of Shahada Street at peak hours. Further data available for pedestrians, bicyclists, and ghosts. And here is what cars are like in Al-Khalil in 2148. Crafted in factories in the countryside by the car makers collective, comprised of fishermen, wives, farmers, poets, electricians, husbands working in their spare time, and made of smooth, heat-resistant, aerodynamic, locally sourced Palestinian alloy, running on pure olive oil, refined and transformed into the world's premier renewable energy source in 2059 by that great innovator of the 21st century, Ali Mohammed Abdelal, whose energy technology rescued a planet on the brink of losing itself to itself, who helped us care for each other freely, who gave us our second chance, who gave us buildings and roads which last 2,000 years and 200 cars per hour and enough possibility for one of those 200 cars to have hit a dog, spilled out on the side of one of those roads. Get reacquainted with the fickleness of roads. Start thanking these streets every time they do not let you go. Be grateful for feet with traction, for shoes that grip. Remember that these roads were once more barbed wire than route. This land was more slaughterhouse than nation. Praise the pause that did not outrun. Praise the eyes that widened anyway. Ask God for grace enough to look away. Everywhere I look, Antigone is there. In the kept framed photograph, an Antigone, a mother scoops the rubble of a child from the earth and into the earth again. Antigone, the Gaza tunnels birth a swaddled daughter, the earth's lost rib. Antigone, a stone interrupts a drone's meandering. A minister slips into the eye of a needle and is vivisected. Antigone, Antigone. My brother never speaks for the rest of his life, refusing language the power to kill him. Antigone on every corner. In the videotapes of children bending fence into animal, the saline sea legions onto the shore and carries 1,000 Antigones, all of us a guttural groan of grief, all of us a begging to keep these bodies in this world, and if not that, to put them in the next. To love our earth enough to gift it our bodies, to love our bodies enough to save them for earth. They say Antigone is born every 60 seconds, too many to erase, too many to prison. Antigone the shroud I wrap my fist in, Antigone the velocity with which I throw it, Antigone in the crashing border fence, in a different crashing border fence, in an eggplant roasted A police file burns in its drawer. A police station burns to the ground. Antigone, I touch another man's body, tell him, Behabbek, I mourn him when he is shot. I tongue his blood to know his spirit better. I wash him, touch him all again, and it is love. I love him as we put him in the dirt. I love this dirt. I bullet his murderer. I mortar their nest. I protect myself. I love another and another and another. Antigone, no one buries us but us. No one grieves us but us. No one cares for us but us. The egg is blooming. The people blooming too. Archives of grief, a tooth for our continuing. There is another world. A tree through an engine, a bullet for a lip piercing. It is waiting for us. We will reach it in these bodies or find it with our souls. Either way, Antigone leads us there. Either way, I am hurling myself towards it and you are coming with me. Antigone against death, Antigone against forget, Antigone, I name you, all my people, I name you, all my people, I name you again, all my people, I name you, my people, all my people, I name you, velocity, all my people, I name you, Antigone, all my people, I name you, still here.
Hey, that was so stunning. Everybody, please come on video if you can. We'll do like an unmuted, like loud clap for all of that. Thank you so much, Fargo. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's just go in order really quick of the order of the people who read. So Lina, Aya, Noura, Kaleem, George, Farah, Fargo, just like a couple sentences of just like where y'all are at in the moment, things you're working on in the mode of resistance and arts, and then just how you center yourselves. And also, you know, where people can find your work further. And then we will have some closing remarks by the PYMGK committee, and then we will all, well, you know, bid you all adieu. So go ahead, Lina. And y'all keep your videos on. And you, yeah.
So I'm starting, right?
Yep.
Okay, so just the first thing I want to say is just how incredible this event was. And it just shows how connected we are, even though we've had so many different unique experiences, but they're all really important experiences. And currently I've been working a lot on art for the Black Lives Matter movement and just drawing that intersectionality between different types of oppression. I think it's so important for us to have that type of intersectionality and like to show solidarity for other types of, you know, people going through oppression. I'm also working a lot on like stop motion videos that kind of explore humanity and like the systems that kind of make the world work, especially with the COVID-19 situation. You can find my work on my Instagram or my Facebook art page. Just look up my name, Lina Abdelrazaq Art. And it's been so great to be a part of this event. Thank you so much.
Hey, go ahead.
Hi, I think my connection's weak, so I'm going to stay on audio only, but I just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you for this community and the incredible artists and writers. I'm working on being in this moment in solidarity with all the Black people across America who are fighting for recognition for justice. And we will see a future. I am optimistic for a future where we're free. And thank you to everyone for imagining those futures and for writing about it.
Oh, I don't, y'all don't have to wait for me to introduce you. Just feel free to go next. So on deck is Kaleem, but Noura, go ahead.
Sorry about that. So I just want to thank everyone for the work they shared. I felt like, you know, it's really healing and inspiring and uplifting and encouraging to hear those words from everybody and to know that we're in it together, whatever it is, and just put forth my, you know, unwavering support for all of the oppressed of the world and our collective liberation and truly that we all continue to believe in it, we will achieve it. And just to say that I sometimes think of Palestine sort of like a pointillism painting, especially in Diaspora, because, you know, you create, by putting the dots, you create the full image, and every dot helps to create a part of that image. And I think that that really represents, especially artwork, but all work, you know, that we're doing in this field. And you could find my work on my Instagram at Nora Farouk _. I'm also gonna link you guys to this film by Mustafa Abu Ali, They Do Not Exist, which was done by the Palestinian Cinema Collective in this like 1970s. So you can view that on your own, and just encourage everyone to support groups like PYM, to support things like the Ghassan Kanafani Scholarship, so we can continue and carry the legacy. And, you know, right now I'm working on telling the oral history and oral stories, especially of Nakba survivors, but blending that with what's happening right now in our present, and documenting our present, because I think that's also important, as well as the uses of indigenous herbs and, you know, how we can use traditional oral history, medicine, and etc. to really support our community proactively. So I just thank you all again, and I hope everyone attending enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I'd echo what Nura said. And I would say I actually recently watched They Do Not Exist. I hadn't heard of it before, and I would recommend it as well, though it's very heartbreaking. So don't watch it if if you're not looking for that. This is my first time actually reading to a Palestinian audience, majority Palestinian community. So this was actually a real honor for me, and feels like kind of a little bit of a cyber Palestine, kind of like a digital home. So thank you guys for giving us the chance to do this, and for all the work that goes into organizing the anthology and this event. And in terms of reading my stuff, I have a short collection of poems coming out in the White Review in the summer issue. So if you want to read one of the poems I read, no, actually none of them are in that collection, but it's that'll be coming out in the summer White Review, and I think they're planning on making it free for all digitally because of COVID. So that'll be an opportunity to read that.
Thank you, Kaleem. We have George, Farah, and Fargo left, and then we'll close it out.
Hey y'all, I just want to echo what was said. I love what Kaleem said about like a cyber Palestine. This is great to be in this virtual community together. In terms of my, so you can, my Twitter and Insta handle are Intifada Batata. And yeah, it's me, potato shaped person. And I'll put my book pre-order link, or well, not pre-order, order, it's out, link in the chat too. But yeah, right now I'm working on existing, LOL. And in addition, I am working on 1.5 novels right now. I'm a poet who is transitioning to fiction as well. I'm also writing. I told myself, ooh, I'm gonna work on a novel, and then all the poems came out instead. And so I'm like, so I think I'll always be a poet, of course, but yeah. So yeah, just kind of alternating.
Okay. I also want to echo what everyone said. I really appreciate PYM's continued, being very outspoken about Indigenous issues and Black Lives Matter. Currently, I'm not really working on anything. My job is really focused on the disease outbreak right now, as well as some of the racial disparities resulting from the COVID outbreak. So a lot more reading than writing nowadays, but I do have a couple of things coming out. And one is an anthology edited by Hala Alian, and it's for Arab women poets. And then I have another essay coming out in an environmental journal coming up. So yeah, just trying to, I think like most people, get by and find ways to relax. So yeah, thank you again for inviting me, and I'm really glad that I got to hear about work. It was very inspiring.
Yes, I definitely want to echo everything that everyone has said. And I would also, one thing that I love about this event and about the work that PYM does is that it helps remind me of our commitment to return, not only as a very real material reality for Palestinians, but also as a way of being in the world. And for me, that means that we structure ourselves towards return to a wholeness, return to healing, return to fairness and equity in the world. And I think that also is demonstrated today, just as everyone has said, in a commitment to partnering with and being in solidarity with all oppressed communities around the world. And right now that means Black Americans as they fight for their right to life. So I would definitely just say that everyone can get a copy of the anthology and also submit to the anthology and also find material ways to help out in your city. So yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Fargo. I'll put that in the chat. But thank you all so much for this space to return together.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Can we please give it up, just a round of applause one more time for each of us and all of us. Some of you are muted, but I also wanted to shout out the committee members, Diala, Nadia, Omar, Wafat, Lina, Hamed, and then also Elias, who will now speak for us and share a little bit more to close things out. And then after that, I will read a short piece by a short excerpt from Kanafani himself to kind of close things out. Otherwise, just a quick note, we did have somebody who pledged $500 to pay for the second scholarship. So thank you so much for that person or entity. I don't know the details, maybe Elias does. And then also follow PYM. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. Keep in touch with the work, sign up for listservs, get involved if you can. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Elias.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Elias, and I'm part of the Ghassan Kanafani Scholarship Committee, and I'm the rep for Canada. Last year, we expanded the scholarship to include Canada, so I'm very excited about that. I just want to thank you all for joining us and celebrating this project and all of our anthology contributors. We'd like to announce that we will be opening the call for submissions for the 5th annual scholarship tomorrow, June 1st. This year's scholarship cover artist has been selected after a general call out, and we will be releasing their artwork tomorrow. The theme of this upcoming edition is Letters to Mustafa. The name is taken from Ghassan Kanafani's story, Letter from Gaza, written to a friend identified only as Mustafa, whom the narrator had originally agreed to follow out to California for vocational purposes. Yet the letter, which contains many smaller narratives of resistance and resilience on the part of the people of Gaza, eventually culminates in a refusal to follow Mustafa, and instead urges him to return to his people. Ghassan writes, "We are all waiting for you." We encourage all Palestinian youths aged 18 to 25 to apply to this year's scholarship. And we encourage you to share the open call for submissions with other Palestinian youth you may know. Nadia or Diala will post a link in the chat to submit. That opens tomorrow. Through the Letters to Mustafa theme for 2020, we're hoping to capture a lesser explored aspect of resistance, which is the component of self-sacrifice in service of the collective. What we give in the service of creating a real future for one another. This year's top 3 submissions will be granted the scholarship prizes of $1,000, $500, and $250. That's USD. And yeah, like Thought said, someone just sponsored the 2nd place award. That's really great, and that, thanks so much. That really supports our scholarship, and we got a lot of donations throughout this, and I encourage you all to continue to support this anthology and this work by donating. The top 20 pieces will be published in next year's anthology. Last year's first place winner, Leila Abdelrazaq, will be featured as a judge on this year's scholarship panel, joined by Chandni Desai, Naila Matuk, Suja Sawafta, and Majd Kayal. The scholarship submission period is from June 1st, tomorrow, up until August 1st. So please spread the word. Please help support the scholarship and ensure it can go on for years to come by donating and supporting our work. And finally, thank you for all of you for joining us and spending your Sunday night with us. And thank you to our amazing poets, visual artists, filmmakers, and storytellers, Leila Abdelrazaq, Kalim Hawa, Aya Al-Fahmawi, Noura Keridli, George Abraham, Farah Kader, and Fargo Tabaghi. Thanks everyone. Have a wonderful night.
Hey everybody. So I will be reading, not to do more product placement, but it is essentially that. There was an opening foreword by Fargo, Philip Metris, and Chandni Desai. I believe Philip is also in the chat, sending tons of love. So, and I think Chandni might be as well. So I wanted to read a excerpt they had included in the foreword from Return to Haifa. So I'll read this and then we'll all head off. So, or I guess you could walk off. This is kind of like the closing music as you leave. I was just asking, I'm looking for the true Palestine, the Palestine that's more than memories, more than peacock feathers, more than a sun, more than scars written by bullets on the stairs. We were mistaken when we thought the homeland was only the past. For Khalid, the homeland is the future. Tens of thousands like Khalid won't be stopped by the tears of men searching in the depths of their defeat for scraps of armor and broken flowers. Men like Khalid are looking toward the future so they can put right our mistakes and the mistakes of the whole world. Thank you, everybody, and we hope to see you soon.